What is poppin'? It is a Slapton. I am but a lowly Slapton riding these refi waves. Do not adjust your television. There are three of us. We are multiplying. We are legion. Of course, this is This Week in ReFi, where we give you all of the refi news that is fit to go ape wild over. With me is the man with the plan, the man with a summer tam, the Estonian madman, Serez.
Hello, it's me.
And our most recent addition is Stenver from Denver. Stenver is not really from Denver. Stenver Jerkku.
Yay.
Hey, it's me, Stenver from Denver.
He is
But I'm actually from Estonia.
So you go figure. We're going to get into Solid World. We're going to get into where Stenver is actually from, where he is now, what it's like being the 1% of the world, all sorts of interesting things. We're going to talk about Dickbutts. Stenver, are you excited to talk about Dickbutts with us?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
And for the first time in my life, I'm outnumbered by Estonians. This has never happened to me in my life. You know, before...
You're multiplying, man.
You're multiplying. Before I got into ReFi, I knew 0 Estonians. Now I know 3, and you all live in the same town, which leads me to believe that all Estonians live in one town. Can you confirm?
It's a pretty good hypothesis, but on the other hand, we're also all from one of the smaller towns.
Well, that's what
Not the
blows
capital.
my mind. Completely blows my mind is like none of you guys are from the capital. Anyway.
But I think it makes sense for everybody to come to Estonia. I don't know if you knew, but Estonia is ranked as #1 in terms of tax flexibility and freedom. So it's a great place to be.
I want to check it out. I
And
want to
it
come
has
to
good-
Estonia.
It has good crypto laws as well.
I do want to go to Estonia. When I go to Estonia, I will let you guys know, and we will all hang out in the one town that you have and see what's up. But we got ReFi to talk about, so let's get into ReFi. Hey, you know, labor markets, I don't know what they're like in Estonia, but in the United States, they're hot. Even with this 40-year high inflation that we're seeing, I think we added 375,000 jobs in the month of June, which means that people are still employing, and there's still jobs to be had in ReFi. And if you're looking to do well and good at the same time, I have a ReFi job board for you that you can sign up for free. Curated job board, high quality stuff. We're talking engineering roles, we're talking marketing, growth, you name it, community management. So I'll leave a link to that in the description of the video. That comes from ReFi DAO. They're putting that together. And we were talking before we got on this call that ReFi DAO, at this very moment, competing with us, how dare they? They have a Twitter call right now, ReFi Founders Circle, where founders of ReFi protocols like Rez and Stenver will hang out and discuss issues that are confronting us, strategies to overcome some problems, and just share knowledge and be awesome. When are we going to see you guys in these ReFi Founders Circles, Rez and Stenver? Are we going to see you there?
I was there actually before this call. So yeah, I was there already short time. They allowed me on stage. I could give a quick introduction, and I had one thing to say to them. The merge is set. It's 19th of September. It's coming. It's finally coming. At least according to Cointelegraph.
They're never wrong, right? Cointelegraph is never wrong. Rez, when are we going to see you at ReFi Founders Circle? I'm there every Monday.
I guess I need to start showing up now that I'm officially a founder. I mean, it's like the law, right? That's how that works.
It is how it works. Stenver, have you noticed a difference in Rez's behavior now that he's a co-founder? Does he act differently now?
No, not really. Not really. He is just as committed and doing what he was doing before. So no, he's always been great. He's doing this with a heart.
When you get him on the phone, does he answer the phone by saying, Rez here, go babe? Now that he's a big Is that, you haven't noticed? That's what he does to me now. Before it was like, hey, what's up, Slapped? And now he's like, yeah, this is Rez. What do you want? It's like unbelievable.
Speaking of doing what I love, when I was asked a couple of years ago, this question of what would you do if you had infinite money? Not infinite money, but you didn't have to work for a living. My response to that was I would get some multiple PhDs and then work in a field where like 5 people understand what I'm doing, I realized that I can skip the whole PhD part and just go to the 5 people understand what I'm doing part, and I'm living my best life. So
Welcome to ReFi.
That is the best part, right? Like you can be somewhat competent and no one's gonna know that you're limited. Like nobody knows what's going on here. There's 4 of us in this space. It's amazing. I love it. We are so early.
Yeah. Apparently the last person just like didn't show up for this podcast, but
this is 75% of ReFi right now. Well, Stenver from Denver, you are of course with Solid World DAO with Rez. What do you want to tell us about yourself, about your journey, about Solid World? What do we got? Who are you, my friend?
All right. So basically, like you said, Stenver from Denver, and I've already worked in carbon markets for multiple years. Previous company I founded was eAgronom, which is turning farmers into carbon farmers through soil carbon sequestration. It's still going on. It's moving towards Series B. I'm not active in there anymore since I'm full-time committed to the DAO. Little news about that. Maybe you guys noticed last week it came out that our DAO is now officially independent foundation. And Solid World DAO actually started inside eAgronom to solve some of its problems. But as the time went forward, and like we wanted to decentralize, we felt it's time to move it out from under eAgronom. Other things from me, I bought my first Bitcoin in like 2013. I've been CTO or tech lead in multiple growth startups, some of which are like biggest one, I guess, is Clia, which is a unicorn size company. And Solid World. So in case anybody that hasn't heard, what we do is that we help to turn forward carbon markets liquid, and we de-risk those markets. So that was a lot of buzzwords. So allow me to give a bit of explanation. One of the biggest things like in the carbon space is that like a lot of these projects out there, when people want to do reforestation and afforestation, they need funding because, you know, seeds and planting trees and working on the land, this doesn't come for free. And to get that funding, there's funds out there that are buying up their credits ahead of time. These are called forwards. But it's a risky activity to do that because like there is an inherent delivery risk with that activity. Projects often underperform versus what they promise to their investors. And at the same time, the investors, they're holding on to illiquid assets. In some cases, they need to hold on to them for more than 5 years. So these are like some really long-term investments. And it's all OTC market. Every deal is negotiated separately. So what we do at Solid World, what we're working on with Res, and Res is the mastermind behind that amazing protocol. We're essentially turning these forward investments liquid, which means that there's always a buyer and seller, a transparent market price. It doesn't exist now. Carbon suppliers, those that create the actual value, they don't know how much they're going to get. They negotiate every deal separately. It's really hard market for them. And it's a very predatory market. I remember when I talked with the UK farmer, and he told me like proudly that he got 80 cents per tree. So I ran the math for him. And then I arrived to a number 4 tons per CO2 ton. He was doing agroforestry in UK. Like those credits were probably sold off for $20 or $240 per CO2 ton. So this guy got ripped off. And there's a lot of cases like that. And it's because the market is not transparent. And we want to fix that. We want to make the market transparent, liquid, and also de-risk it for carbon investors. So the underperformance risk goes away. And we believe by doing that, we're going to essentially at least 10x the amount of capital that will be deployed towards new projects. Because, you know, investors invest more if it's safer to do that. It makes very much sense. The carbon market right now is on a rocket path to grow. Like it's going to the most optimistic predictions I've seen from McKinsey are that it's going to grow to 50 billion by 2030. Right now, it's around 1 to 2 billion, right? Majority of that value will go through forward investments. And Solid World DAO is building like the base infrastructure to support all of that, capture that value, and distribute it to the community, basically.
That was very elegantly said. Rez, that was good. What do you think? Anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, he's been doing this for a very long time now, so he's gotten very good at putting both sentences together in a very elegant way, and I
Stenver,
love it.
That was amazing. That was I'm not just saying that. That was amazing. So,
But
yeah, go ahead.
here's a detail Stenver left out. When he said that he bought his first Bitcoin in 2013, he also lost his first Bitcoin in 2013 in the Mt. Gox hack.
I was gonna make a joke. Oh, 2013. What's it like being a billionaire? You know, but that's the thing. Most people who bought Bitcoin in 2013, like how many kept it? Right? Everyone says, "I wish I bought Bitcoin in 2012." It's like, what makes you think you would have held it for 10 years? You would have sold it when you were up, $1,000 or something.
10x, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
go for it. Exactly. And
I bought back in 2014, but just a small amount. But Mt. Gox, I still get those litigation emails. They still ask me for data. I'm like going through this. I'm like feeling like, man, somebody like, should I just send this to an accountant? Like maybe they can like fill it out. Like,
and it's relevant to what we're going to be talking about later. So Mt. Gox, for those who don't know, and you probably even know more than I do because you've been getting the litigation emails forever. It was a insolvent crypto exchange that did risky things with people's deposits, and I think entered into a bankruptcy proceeding, and they're like still litigating it. What was that? 4 years ago, 5 years ago, something like that.
No, it's since 2013, so it's been 10 years.
It's been 10 years, and so the depositors have not. I just saw there was an update saying that you could make a decision.
They now started to do paybacks. So I just got an email last week that they're starting to send money somewhere. I don't know where, because I sent them emails like a few years ago where they should send it. I don't know where they're going to send it.
Man, that's so cool. Payback. Are you getting the value of Bitcoin today, or are you getting the value of Bitcoin when you lost it?
Yeah, right.
No way, man. Like, I mean, they got hacked. They lost like over 90% of their Bitcoin, if I remember it. So, like, where are they gonna take the money to pay it all back? Like, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah, interesting. So one of the things I want, in your explanation about futures, it made me think of this like economic principle, which is the power of knowledge, right? I'm sorry, forwards. Yeah, you're right. The power of knowledge in an economic in a market, and you can see that. Go ahead.
Interrupt you?
Yeah.
Sorry. I'll quickly explain difference between forwards and futures because
Please.
A lot of people think that these are the same things. They're not. So in case of future, what happens is that two parties agree on a price, they lock it, and then when the maturity comes, when the future, should mature, then the exchange of asset is being done. The money comes from one side and the asset comes from the other side. In case of forwards, it's an advance payment. So the payment comes immediately and the asset is delivered down the road somewhere.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. That is helpful. So, the idea that, people always try to figure out what the value of this blockchain and putting carbon credits on chain. And I don't think they understand how important it is to have a transparent marketplace, because we do have an opaque marketplace in the carbon markets off chain, siloed information. And you could say, well, why does that actually matter? You gave a very good example of it. Someone was receiving 80 cents and that was being resold for $20. And you could make the argument, well, that's the free market working. But in the absence of information, I think you could say that there is an enormous asymmetry in the people holding capital, because they, you see these experiments, or even in games. I don't know. I'm going to draw a weird comparison, but Rez knows what I'm talking about. There's a game called Secret Hitler. Rez, you know that game, right? I mean, you might know it too, Stenver, right? Where
it's a very good game.
It's a minority in power, and they're able to maintain that power just by having a modicum of knowledge. And the majority without knowledge is at an enormous disadvantage. And this is true for all systems.
Yes, and you're getting gaslit the whole time.
Exactly. So you can make the argument that like that alone is massive. Information democracy is huge for this space. So you know, have you talked to these producers of credits, and are they even aware of the problem of the siloed information? Is this something that they're looking forward to? Like, is it on their horizon?
Oh, absolutely. Like everybody's aware of it, including the traders who actually use this information. Like, I mean, they often want more information as well. And we're talking with a lot of traders. We'll get to that, but this is why we're in Switzerland and going to Paris as well, because they're interested in more transparent markets as well. But like in case of it, the power dynamic, how it often works out is that the suppliers uh, you know, ReFi and voluntary carbon space is super confusing. Like, there's no good materials out there which kind of simply explain and tell you that here's how it works. These are the participants in the space. We at Solid World DAO have started to create these materials, but it's not our main focus, so it takes a bit time to get these out. But like the point is that if you get, for example, a renewable energy voluntary carbon credit project proponent, and they, renewable energy trades from like $3 to $10 at best case. And like I've talked with a few of these guys, and then they look at cap and trade ETS price, which is like $70. They make their calculations in their Excel, and then they come to me and say like, I have the best business plan ever. And they don't even like differentiate between compliance and like voluntary market. And then I explain them the difference. They come back to me a few weeks later with, I don't know, they saw mangroves voluntary prices somewhere. Like, we're still going to get 60. Like, and when they finally, hit the reality, come together with a trader or something, then these guys are going to like tell them whatever. Because like at some point, the person, when his reality has been broken so many times, he's going to, believe whoever looks trustworthy. And this is where things kind of start breaking down.
Good point. Yeah. Again, we're so early. The things you guys are describing, the fact that there isn't even transparency in this marketplace, people don't know the difference between a voluntary and a compliance credit. It's amazing how early we are. If you're paying attention to this podcast, you are incredibly ahead of the curve, which is good for you. And hopefully we can catch people up. So, you had mentioned you're in Switzerland. So let's discuss that. Both of you're like, what, 10 feet from each other in real life at the moment? Is that fair to say? How close are you in proximity at the moment? In meters. I'm sorry, I'm using imperialist measurements, Rez. I apologize about that.
We're on the same floor, so probably 10 meters is a good bet.
Or somewhere in that area. Safe bet.
And you are in Switzerland. What's going on? What are you guys doing?
So there is this summit over here, climate-oriented summit, where there's lots of different both blockchain and also off blockchain, like traditional carbon project developers, proponents, investors, potential LPs, all gathered together. And we're spending the weekend over here plus Monday in this beautiful palace called Kauks Palace. I hope I spelled that correctly. It's on a mountain. It's pretty very historical place, very beautiful place. I'm not sure exactly what to expect, but I know there's a lot of different speeches coming. There's some really, really good and big names coming. I'm also going on the stage over there. I know Mangrove DAO guys are there, and I've heard a lot of other people in the ReFi space planning to, go there, or we're considering going there.
And this is the Initiatives for Land, Lives, and Peace, right? That's the name of the conference, isn't it? I think the official name. Cool.
Yeah. I've been calling this the Illuminati conference because that name just gives me Illuminati vibes, Like if you're calling yourself the Initiative for Land, Lives, and Peace, it's like,
That's what you were telling me. Like I was like,
Yeah.
what are you guys doing there? And Rez is like, I can't tell you. This is top secret. So I think you're the Illuminati. So you guys are you're going to talk. Are you going to speak about Solid World? Like what's in the docket for the speech? Like what are you trying to share with people at the conference?
There's like a bunch of different panels going on. For example, one is like how to create sustainable system for solving current challenges. And there's lots of like traditional space players over there, like both from even venture capital, but also like Beta Earth, Covessa, Neom Cognitive, etc. And then there's also, I'm personally in a panel called Regenerative Finance and Impact Investing. And I just want to, spread the word that we're going to fix this market finance side. This is our objective, and we're going to do it in a public good way. I think that's very special and important thing to do. So essentially, whatever I'm speaking here about Solid World, I'm going to speak in there as well. But yeah, it's a panel. So, panels usually, they have like 5 people, 45 minutes. Everybody has actually like 5 minutes total, maybe 10. So you don't get to say a lot, to be honest. And yeah, there's a lot of other panels about COP27, carbon markets, nature-based solutions, and then there's like nice hikings in the mountains as well and stuff like that.
I'm insanely jealous of the both of you. Rez, what are you most looking forward to this weekend in Switzerland, other than hanging out with Stenver from Denver?
I am very much looking forward to talking with all of these interesting people from the traditional carbon markets, because at the end of the day, this is a great opportunity to preach the gospel of blockchain. Because I think, either these people haven't heard about it, or they have this image in their head that they're like, okay, that's like a dirty, bad thing that pollutes air, right? And when you get down to it, it's like, no, this is a really good, transparent, like incentive mechanism, and we can, do a bunch of very cool shit because blockchain exists. And I would like more people to realize that.
What's your strategy when you approach these TRADFI people and try to convert them to the dark side? Do you like just corner them into into a corner and just start blabbing at them about tokenomics? Like how do you how do you
Yes, you
approach
need
this?
to read my white paper. It's very
I had this thought, like someone has to make this video, like a humorous video of like a crypto nerd like myself or like Rez or somebody like that, like going to like a speed dating panel and just like, you know what I'm saying, and just talking tokenomics, like just aggressively talking, like telling them about the Ethereum, like you know what I mean, the merge,
yes.
just to see what happens, and they'd be like, not one question about their interest, just being like, let me tell you about why crypto is going to change the world.
Yes, we need to talk about like demand and supply when we're talking about tokenomics. This is very important.
Yes.
If you fuck up this part, nothing else is gonna work. Okay, let's go.
Yeah, well, it's a serious question. Like for both of you, like what's the level of you guys are more tapped in than I am. Acceptance. What's the level of receptance of this sort of like conversation? Like, if do they just brush you off? Are they skeptical of you? Do they actually consider it? What's been your experience talking to these TradFi people in the carbon markets?
I think they're very open to that actually, and there's a couple of reasons. Because like the way I explain what we do, and I did it same in here. I'm not talking about blockchain and buzzwords. This is not me making your head spin. I'm speaking about real world problems that we're solving, and these people who are in this space understand this problem. They felt these problems. They know these are problems, and they don't know how to fix it. And then I'm coming and saying, hey, we're solving this problem. And then I'm gradually gonna like, how do you use it? What do you do? We're gonna use blockchain. And you can kind of tell them. Then they're maybe gonna ask why blockchain. Then I'm gonna say, all the things why blockchain instead of traditional way. Because it's like a money Lego. It's capital efficient. Everything is interoperable. Things fit together. You can very easily build derivatives and options on top of the stuff we do. And we can basically achieve with like 5 developers what otherwise will do like multiple years and 100 developers, and we still wouldn't have as good of a system. Like it's like actually when you explain these things to people and you remove the buzzwords and you speak like about real things, I think people get very nicely opened up. But I think the other essential part is like when I go to talk with these people, like my in case anybody wants tips on how to meet new people at conferences.
I do.
It's pretty simple. You just see a person, you walk up to him, you say, hi, I'm Stenver from Denver. He introduces, you ask him what he does, and then you have genuine interest what he does. And eventually he's going to ask what you're doing. And this is how it starts. And yeah, That's how easy it is.
Great advice. So I should walk up to someone and say, "Hi, I'm Stenver from Denver." What are you doing? We're all Stenver from Denver. No, you're 100%
Please
right.
do spread the word.
You're 100% right. Like this is you all know this, but for people listening, like good life advice. If you want to meet anybody, it doesn't matter who they are, just ask them questions. Who are you? How's your day going? What are you doing? People love to talk about themselves, and if you're genuinely interested in them, they will hopefully reciprocate. And if they don't, it's cool because that's the whole point of a conversation. You want to learn about them more than you want to talk about yourself. Hopefully, but that,
I had a funny story in New York actually. So
Yeah.
I was in New York at this Eat New York that just happened like end of June. So I was supposed to go to something called like Web3 Women Empowerment event. Sounded cool. So I put the location into the map. I walked up to it. I noticed the place that I had been like just a few days ago, the venue. I walked in, security guard let me in, and like it was like on top of like nice line somewhere in New York. In the elevator, some lady entered with me, so I started talking with her, but she seemed kind of cold and didn't want to interact. I didn't push it, so I just went to the top of the roof. I approached there like few other guys and girls, got some to talk, but every time I felt this barrier, which was quite unfamiliar in crypto conferences. So I opened up my map and noticed that I was in the wrong place and I just walked in a bar.
That's good.
And I don't know about
So you literally did what I just mentioned before. Like you basically went into like a social dating environment and just started talking to like tokenomics to everybody. Like what the fuck is this guy doing? This is I wish I was there to see that. I really
It's
do.
like, what protocol are you working on?
Yeah. I don't know, man. What's a protocol? That's a good story. That's a great story. Yeah, I think you guys, you nailed it. Just talk to other people about what they're interested in. So this is a good segue. Rez, I know you're interested in carbon registries and rituals of realness. If you guys aren't following Rez's Medium page, I will link that. You guys know how brilliant he is. And sometimes he takes the time. I think he probably, I'm not trying to poke fun at you, Rez, but you probably take a little, what do you call that? A focus stuff, right? And then get crank. We've discussed this on the podcast. I think this is fair to say.
Well, yeah, I can't basically do any work if the whole ADHD thing is getting in the way. So yeah, meds.
You take those focus meds and you start cranking. And I read this Carbon Registries and Rituals of Realness, in which you explain to people who might have an idea that they can do carbon markets better, not so fast.
Yeah.
What's the TLDR of this, if you want to summarize it? Why is it hard to create these voluntary carbon markets?
Well, if you think you can make a registry, you probably can. The problem is, how do you actually get people to buy stuff off of your registry? Where do you actually add value in the whole process? It's not very obvious, and the entry points actually are very difficult. And I don't think people realize this. And especially if you're an outsider who hasn't had any interactions with the voluntary carbon market, or maybe had like a very short, very negative experience of going like, it's too complicated. Then you immediately like show up and go like, this is so complicated. I'm going to start simplifying. But you just like simplify everything out that is like proper carbon accounting. So you just kind of end up with something that any, carbon trader would look at and go like, no, no one's gonna buy this. Like, why? No, that's not how that works. And they find that out like later, after they've perhaps even raised money from venture capital that doesn't know stuff about carbon markets. Your whole pitch is like, oh, it's too complicated, we're going to simplify. You even raise money. Maybe you get like some people on board to do some projects, but you still end up with the same fundamental problem. Where do you get demand from? And you don't get demand from making things. You don't get demand from making things simple. You get demand from making things real. That's the role of a carbon registry. It's supposed to put up this like process, or this ritual of carbon credits are a social construct. Here is how here are all of the like trust building mechanisms that we do. So the buyer at the other end could then trust that this thing actually happened and that they actually did something in the world. So that's the general summary of this. And it then goes on a small tangent about what I would call green grants, which is a logical endpoint for a few of these projects that I've seen. I'm not going to name names, but it's essentially, for instance, paying money to just forest owners for owning forests. And then you look at how much is the forest sequestering just because it exists, right? And you're going like, yep, that is the number we're going to give you. Here are your impact credits for all of the forests you own. And, you can do that, but it's not going to change behavior. And because it doesn't change behavior, it's not a carbon credit. We're supposed to get something out of it. It's a transaction of, I pay you money and you do something with that money. And that something you do is the thing that, sequesters carbon.
Yeah, no, well said. I think the part that you hit on that I thought was very salient in the piece was there, in certain things you want to abstract out away complication. That's to some degree what you create value with, right? Like complicated system, like crypto to some degree is doing that. It's removing complication of middlemen. But in some cases, it's the actual complication and the work that creates the value or the realness. And to abstract that away is to actually remove the part that gives
people are paying for.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Which is, the problem that we're in right now, as far as I'm concerned, with on-chain carbon credits, is we are beholden to one essential registry. And the question is like, well, why don't we just spin up a voluntary carbon registry of our own? And I think that article does a very good job of explaining, well, it's, pardon my French, fucking hard.
It's very hard. It's
indeed.
Very ungratifying. If you do anything wrong, you'll get criticized for it. As a registry, your only resource is being legitimate. So every time you get criticized, it damages your business model a lot. So you have to do things really well. And if you're a smaller registry, this is very difficult because larger registries can get away with it. You probably can't. Right. So you're held to a completely different standard.
Anything you want to add to this, Stenver from Denver? The challenges of voluntary carbon records. Yeah.
I think I've seen this story so many times. It's ridiculous. Every single carbon project, I think, I can't say every single, but I've seen at least 10 times carbon project proponents, people who are, they have good intentions, they want to do something cool. And so first of all, they try to do their project. So they Google, there's something called Verra. And, they figured out what's the difference between compliance and voluntary market. So they're proud of themselves. They contact Verra and, well...
Oh man, I'm getting flashbacks.
There are issues.
They don't respond.
6 months later, they're like, okay, this organization, after 10 of my emails, obviously doesn't care about the environment. And I've heard other people say the same because, let's be honest, people talk. And then they're like, I'll just do it myself. And then they just plan to do themselves. They spend a half a year or a year doing it all themselves. They find few friends who buy their credits. Then they try to scale it and discover nobody else is buying it. And so they have a choice, either hire an excellent enterprise sales team, which is expensive and time consuming, or try to somehow offload it to retail, which is also a very specialized skill, or get certified by Verra. And then they finally, get into it again, and they discover there's consultants out there. We have a curated list from Solid World DAO. We can send it to anybody who asks. We have curated around 15 different firms who specialize in helping you to set up the project, and they have relationships and ties with Verra. And then, they finally do the Verra project, but they basically just lost a year. And it's sad. I don't want to accuse anybody, but I think somebody who's at the center of this whole thing should put more effort into helping new people at least understand where's what,
Yeah. But there's a big education gap, and it's so hard to get into. And from the outside, everything looks like, what is happening?
Yeah.
And it takes like a year of actually talking with
Yep.
people. You can't read it from somewhere. You have to talk with people. And that also makes it feel like so secretive and arcane. It's not a good fit, yeah.
I have a personal experience with the person who tried to enter voluntary carbons, and he wanted to do everything himself. But his philosophy, like, he was not a people person, so he was using all the materials he could find to set up a project. Well, long story short, a year later, he was like, this doesn't work, I'm leaving. And like, the thing is, like, this space at its current state, the only way you're going to figure it out is by talking with people. And that's bad. It's really bad. I really like hope that Ellie, Ellie is building a knowledge base. Her work will probably be very valuable. I hope ReFi DAO does something along the same lines. We at Solid World have tried to start giving out more and more educational articles, but like at the end of the day, it's hard work getting this information out there.
Yeah. So you mentioned Ale Borda from Gitcoin. Is that who you're referring to?
Yeah.
I've met. I've been in a founder circle with her at ReFi DAO. Yeah, very smart young lady. Yeah, I mean, my personal experience is I've been in this ReFi for a little under a year, and I've had access to some very intelligent people, including Rez, and I mean that sincerely. Rez has taught me more than anybody. Yeah, it's taken me about a year, I think, to call myself competent. And there's certainly, I don't know as much as you guys do. That's I try to surround myself with people who know more than I do, and it is exceedingly arcane and mystified. And honestly, that's why I love it. I personally am attracted to things that are complicated and mystified and it's like an elitist. I don't know what it is, but it's kind of cool to be like in the in crowd. You know what I mean? But that's not most people. So massive education gap. I hope that's one of my goals for this podcast is at the end of the day just to help people understand what the heck is going on. And I do think it'll happen though. It's inevitable, right? Because there is a solution here. So
it has to.
It has to.
Yeah.
It has to. We will succeed. All right, cool. That's the ReFi stuff. Let's get a couple stories and let's do two. Let's do more just macro stories. Let's get into the big one that you already mentioned, Stenver from Denver. Let's talk about the Ethereum Merge. Who wants to take this one? Rez, do you want to? I've talked enough. Why don't you give an explanation of what's going on?
Yeah. So, as I'm sure a lot of the people watching this video know, Ethereum is currently proof of work. What this essentially means is that there are huge buildings full of specialized hardware that are trying to do complicated calculations in order to have the privilege of minting the next block in like Ethereum's ledger. This is considered very secure, but the big downside of this is that it has an insane carbon footprint. It's kind of nasty. It does generate quite a lot of emissions, and this is only part of it. But at the end of the day, Ethereum is moving away from proof of work and going into proof of stake. And in parallel, for quite a while, this proof of stake chain has been operating in the background, not really doing anything, but operating in the background, attracting people to stake their Ethereum into this chain. And the merge is this magical event where in a very small period of time, Ethereum's mainnet, the god chain, goes from proof of work into proof of stake. And it's gonna be glorious.
And we have a date. Stenver elucidated that, right? It's September 19th, 2022. This has been in the works for how many, like, I don't remember, 2 years, 3 years? My time frame is off.
It feels like it's been up forever.
No, when Ethereum came out in 2015, they already announced that they're gonna do a merge. Like, this has been in the plan since the beginning. And if I remember correctly, I may be wrong, the first date for that was 2016. But I'm not like mad at all. Like, we've seen what happens if blockchains rush. I think Ethereum Foundation is doing it the right way. They have huge amounts of money running on the blockchain. I say, if we need to postpone that date, I better have it postponed than have a bug. Like, just do it as legit and solid as you can. So I'm extremely happy to hear that the developers feel confident enough to finally merge.
Yeah, and they have
Yeah.
what three test nets, right? So they're doing this 3 times, which is awesome. And
I think it's more.
four,
Yeah.
okay, my bad. And then it's September 22nd. Maybe it gets pushed. I think it's going to get pushed, right? That's typically, you guys know how it works developing these complicated things. But at least you have a time frame, right? Like how far can it
19th.
get? What's that?
September 19th.
September 19th. So will it happen on September 19th? Like, I don't know, but it's a good sign, because even if it happens in December, that's not that far away, right? So
It's good odds. Yeah, it's good odds because we've seen it being postponed in terms of like, it's going quarter 1, it's going quarter 2. We've seen a few times it's been postponed already. They found like some bug when they were trying this out on one of the test nets. They had to fix it. They had to address a bunch of problems that they found. And the developers themselves proposed, hey, this is the date for the merge. And in that call, no one was like, no, I'm not sure. Everyone was like, yeah, let's do it. So that's like that's gonna be a very joyous occasion.
love it. So
I just wanna add that like the merge, for those people who can appreciate, who understand code, this is a feat of engineering without a doubt. Like the amount of complexity that's going on in there, and at the same time knowing that your blockchain holds like, I don't know how much value runs on blockchain. It's like at least $500 billion, right?
yeah, easy.
So imagine working on something and you knowing that if you're gonna screw up, you're gonna destroy people. Like it's so much mental pressure, and it's at the same time very complex. So it's truly a feat of engineering once it gets done.
Well said. I think the people are visual. We're kind of routed in our physical world. To me, the metaphor, the parallel would be like the Golden Gate Bridge or the Eiffel Tower, right? Like at the time, like these were feats of incredible engineering. This is digital engineering, but the complexity and the importance of it, and the manpower and the intelligence and perseverance is the same, maybe more, man. Maybe more, because there are a lot of people who can weld steel. It's another thing entirely to write these complicated, Solidity programming code banks and everything. It's freaking incredibly difficult.
Years of work in like an international team of like, people from everywhere contributing into making this happen. It's so cool.
Gigabrains, and not just people, like the smartest people. Yeah.
And I think it's going to be extremely pivotal for ReFi as well. Yep. Because, right now, anybody from ReFi who deploys to Ethereum, they're going to get like, but it's dirty. All those questions gone. Ethereum is going to be clean.
Love it. I was just going to say that the impact, and this actually has a drawback to ReFi. 100% agree with you. One of the things that ReFi has always been dealing with is the negative press. That story of crypto is dirty, and fair enough. Bitcoin, you can make the argument that we have a dirty Ethereum right now, but this will stop all of that. Hopefully, dead in its tracks. So, last thing we'll hit today is my favorite story of the day. I think our favorite story of the day. We will call it the Dickbutts story. Specifically, 3 Arrows Capital, the company that, or the blockchain entity that has destroyed all of DeFi at this point, have gone bankrupt, and they were, they didn't pay back a bunch of loans. We have Voyagers, a victim of them. Who knows? Many of them are victims. Many people are victims of 3 Arrow Capital. Stenver, this is a story you brought up. What would you like to say about this? Do you have a quick pitch on this? Quick summary?
Oh, sure. So, 3 Arrows Capital. Almost all the assets that they hold have been liquidated. There's this wallet you can see, but some assets have been turned illiquid and they can't be liquidated. So remember we had this fund called 3 Arrows Capital that's like $10 to $18 billion big. They lended money from Celsius, BlockFi, Voyager. They funded Luna, and they were the one that literally started this bear market to be together with Luna. Like Luna and 3 Arrows Capital were the contagion this run, no doubt about it. Without them, we'd maybe still have pretty stable markets. Who knows? But so if you look at the wallet that is owned by the 3 Arrows Capital, and you look like, where did how did they use my money? Because at the end of the day, it's our money. Everybody who's, invested into these blockchain protocols and are now all down bad. So what did they use this money for? And the answer is, for example, NFT of Dickbutts.
Let me pull up a picture really quick. That's it right there, ladies and gentlemen. That is, in fact, the Dickbutt. The company that brought down DeFi after they made terrible investments and wrecked people's life savings, decided this is how they should spend their money. Which tells you, once and for all, DeFi is a scam. Don't bother. No, I'm joking. No, there's just bad actors, and you got to watch out. But it's
DeFi is a scam. Like that shouldn't be a thing.
I
Giving people under loans with no collateral in DeFi. I mean, our DeFi protocols actually survived the whole crash because they had, good mechanisms in place. Meanwhile, these centralized loan platforms, they just gave Free Arrow Capital stuff with no collateral, going like, oh, you're good for it. You're a tier 1 fund, whatever. Yeah. Like, it's fine.
No, I'm being facetious. Obviously, it's not. It comes with risk, right? And everybody's, I shouldn't say that. A lot of people are complaining. We need regulation. It's like most of us got into this space because we're tired of the bad regulation, right? And so it's the good with the bad, right? Like a lot of people get into the space because there's opportunity that doesn't exist in TRADFI. And one of the reasons there's opportunity here is because there isn't that regulation, right? There isn't that accredited investor status. We all can get into things early. But the downside of this is obviously somebody can bankrupt you and buy a Dickbutt.
Well, you know what will be a positive trend, and I think it's happening. You don't need regulations for DeFi. DeFi was fine. Nothing bad happened there. No protocols failed. Aave is alive. The Oasis from MakerDAO is alive. They're all working. They're great. What screwed up is centralized exchanges.
Agreed.
Because in there, you don't have code, which is law. So they need law.
Love it.
So in fact, regulators should look at what code as a law is working and then just apply it to places where we can't have code in the same way, and we'd be fine. We don't need accredited investors. We just need these lending pools to be over-collateralized. Boom,
Agreed.
Problem solved.
Completely agree. All right, final question for both of you. Rez, what are you bench pressing these days?
Still what I was bench pressing before. That should be... Oh my god, what is that? 50 kilos combined is not much.
110 pounds. Love it. Stenver, what are you bench pressing these days?
I don't bench press. I go running 4 times a week, 10K a day. And so that's around, I don't know.
10K is 6.2 miles.
6.2 miles every day. 4 times a week, sorry.
Unbelievable. We have an intelligent and fit panel. Guys, I appreciate this. This is probably the most fun I've had all week. Good. Have fun in Switzerland. And obviously, report back. Well, Rez, you'll be here. Stenver, you're welcome anytime, obviously. Catch you guys in the next one. Remember to ape responsibly. Peace, dudes and dudettes.